Thank you so much for being here. My name is Julia Lang, and I am a professor of practice at Tulane University, and I have the enormous honor of being one of the co-directors for the Changemaker Institute.
And hello, my name is Maggie Sheffer. I am the other co-director of the Changemaker Institute, new this year, and also a professor of practice at Tulane's Taylor Center, where I work on design thinking for social impact. Cool. Before we get started, we wanted to thank everybody for being here. And before we launch into presentations, we would like to thank Salon 22 for welcoming us into this incredible space. Thank you so much. This building is a historic building designed by Lucien Ferdinand Rousseff, the first African-American licensed architect in Louisiana. You can probably tell this building was originally a church, Central Congregational Church, and it stands as a testament to community, resilience, and shared spaces for gathering and engagement. Going back even further in time, we think it is important to recognize what came before us on this land and in the greater New Orleans area, which was originally inhabited and traversed by over 40 native tribes who called it Bulbancha, the Choctaw word for a place of other tongues. The Choctaw, Hauma, Chitimacha, Biloxi, and other native peoples have lived on this land since time immemorial. Their identities are inextricably connected to this place. With gratitude and honor, we pay tribute to the original inhabitants of this land. This unceded territory has been the site of many forms of systemic violence, domination, and extraction. In particular, we want to acknowledge the histories of colonialism, slavery, and environmental exploitation that have taken place here in the name of progress, and from which Tulane University continues to benefit.
So this acknowledgement should not function as acceptance or closure, but as a call to commit to reconfigure our notions about ourselves through our work and our working practice as we take responsibility to dismantle the ongoing harms perpetuated by settler colonialism. Changemaking, by its nature, demands a relentless examination of our world and of ourselves. Part of the Changemaker Institute includes having students consider their own identities and positionality, and in doing so, question their assumptions, confront their biases, and consider inadvertent harm that they might be causing in the name of quote-unquote progress. So we often tell students in CI to fall in love with the problem, not their solution. And these students that you will hear from today have spent a lot of time building relationships and listening to stakeholders in an attempt to create something that is actually needed and wanted by the people that they serve. As you hear from the fellows today, we invite you to reflect on the long journey of community, of resistance, and of resilience that's taken place here within these very walls, as well as on this land in New Orleans or in Bulbancha, while also considering your own positionality, your own history, and potential actions you might take and the future that you want to see. So who are we and what are we doing here? So we work at the Taylor Center for Social Innovation and Design Thinking, which is a center at Tulane, an interdisciplinary center that works with undergraduate and graduate students in thinking through how they can tackle a social or environmental issue that aligns with their academic interests. And we do this, we talk about change making, and what that means is there's no major or minor in here, right? Anyone can be someone that uses their skills, expertise, gifts, and power in a way that creates positive social change and affirms the humanity of all people. So the Changemaker Institute was actually started by students back in 2012 who were starting up some sort of business with social impact and felt really alone, and came to us and said, we could really use some community and support as we are building this out. So we adopted the Changemaker Institute. It's taken many forms over the years. We have some incredible alumni in this space. And yeah, we work with students over a full semester to help them develop their ideas. Now, something I want to know is who here has been to a pitch competition, maybe business competition? Okay, so you might notice today that CI is not your traditional business accelerator, and this is not a pitch competition. And to take that a step further, we see success in the Changemaker Institute in two ways. So one is, Yes, of course. We are a program that works to develop social entrepreneurial ideas, and we want students to launch successful, viable, sustainable social ventures. And when they do that, that's wonderful. And as I said, we talk a lot about falling in love with the problem, not your solution. And so students throughout the Changemaker Institute might learn through all of their conversations and customer discovery that their venture is not needed, it's not wanted, or it already exists in some other form. And we see that as success, right? The world does not need more businesses. The world needs more people that are working together to tackle these pressing challenges. So you might hear today people giving more of a classic pitch if their venture is moving forward, or talking more about just their growth and development and what is next for them as a changemaker on their journey. And this is what we've actually done. So we started meeting in November, and every week we met for 2 hours. We brought in some incredible speakers and covered everything from the components of their business to developing a prototype to test some core assumptions they're making. We actually did that prototype debrief here at Salon 22 to get feedback from community members. We worked on folks' mission, their vision, their branding, their marketing, and even bringing in attorneys like Katie, who's here right today, which is wonderful. And so on the next slide, you'll see these are the amazing people that came in to share their journey and their wisdom with our students. So major shout out to our incredible speakers. In addition, we have some amazing mentors who are in the room as well. Cherie and Todd, thank y'all so much. And so part of the Changemaker Institute is also meeting, every venture meets with a mentor 3 times throughout the program. One other last thing I want to say about the Changemaker Institute is one of the co-founders of Salon 22, Mariska, participated in CI when she was building out Salon 22. So this is kind of a full circle. I had the pleasure of working with Mariska every week, and now being able to host this event in this beautiful space on my birthday is a dream come true. And then, of course, we have our amazing fellows that you will hear from today.
So thank you again for being here. You are an integral part of how today is going to work. You are here to both learn and listen to the Changemakers presentations, but also to provide them useful feedback that they can take and help them launch into the next step of their journey, no matter where they're starting at. So today, we're going to invite up the ventures one by one to present for 5 minutes each. At around the 4-minute, 30-second mark, presenters, you'll hear this handy maraca that'll let you know you have 30 seconds, and then you'll hear it again at the 5-minute mark, so you know that we're at time. And party hands means if we can ask the audience to help, party hands is like jazz hands. So when the presentation's over, we're going to ask you to do some party hands to help the presenters know they're ready to wrap up. Then we'll have 5 minutes for each venture to respond to live question and answer. I'll be running around with one of those microphones to help you get your question into the microphone, because we're actually recording this so that the fellows will have access to it later so they can share and learn from the video. And you have a nifty thing in your folders. Could everybody find or grab a green folder? If you're not sitting near one, there's some at every chair. Oops. Inside your folder, you have a piece of paper called a feedback capture grid, and you have multiple copies, one for each venture. You can see at the top there's a place to put the venture's name. Because we only have 5 minutes for audience Q&A and feedback, this is your place to write down feedback that the ventures can use later. So you can see there's one quadrant for what you liked about the venture, one for suggestions you have for further growth and development, one for questions you have they might consider, and this last one's super important, one for new ideas or resources. And we invite you, if you're comfortable, to even share your contact info or specific resources they can look into later. So and there's pencils scattered about the room, some on that back table if you need something to write with. But in a moment, we're going to get started with our very first venture. Cool. Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to invite up our first presenters from Envirocom.
All right, can you guys hear me well on the microphone? We're good? Okay, great. So, yeah, we're just going to roll ahead and get started, everyone. And, oh, sorry, down is up. There we are. With a quick show of hands, Have any of you guys read a scientific article in the last week? Okay, more people than I thought. Pretty good. That's awesome. Yeah, cool. That's good.
And have any of you watched a 2 to 5 minute video on any platform in the last week? Raise your hand. Nice. Okay. So as you can see, most people, ourselves included, tend to engage more on a daily basis with short form video content than with scientific articles.
So my name's Catherine Frauenberger. I'm not only a mangrove researcher, but I'm an ecology and evolutionary biology grad student. And nothing ticks me off more than knowing that my research is going to probably end in a meaningless void of just scientific jargon.
And I'm Katie Peralt, and I'm also an ecology graduate student, but primarily I'm a filmmaker and photographer, so I saw the opportunity that visual storytelling can have to address that kind of issue and make science more accessible and increase engagement with it.
So don't try to bother with the left side. This is my own method section. Our eyes tend to veer to the left, but we want to show you guys these are real methods that I wrote out, and we're translating that into beautiful visual displays of information. So this is actually what a mangrove propagule looks like, and we wanted to show you guys the tendency is to read the left, but it's an eyesore. Why not focus on the right and interpret your information easily?
We also are backed up by some statistics. So first, we consume a lot of digital media. The digital revolution has led to an abundance of video consumption, and you can see in that bubble, the average American spends 4.5 hours a day on their phones, sometimes maybe more. I know I'm more sometimes.
So not only this, but understanding science is hard. We all know that, but videos are here to make it easier. 93.6% of people, so scientists, not only understood, but actually accepted a finding, which is pretty hard to get 94% of people to agree on something. Video abstracts are also associated with an increase of citations, views, and attention scores. And more views equals more money for filmmakers and scientists alike.
And then our second problem area that we address is artists are struggling. Art has become undervalued, leading to higher rates of stress and hopelessness in independent artists, as well as the financial strain that comes along with having a hard time finding gigs. For example, you can see here 14.4%. The unemployment rate for freelance videographers plateaued there at 2020, and it didn't bounce back within that year. So that led us to want to create EnviroCom to increase connections between filmmakers and scientists.
And we do this by facilitating funded collaborations between emerging filmmakers, so your undergrads, your grad students, and environmental scientists to produce videos that enhance not only research accessibility, but also build portfolios at the same time. So yeah, we want to go and talk a little bit about our funding as well as our impact. So far, we've applied to $4,000 in funding, and that's for funded collaborations, supplies, so like microphones, cameras, etc., as well as trainings and screening events. But we want to focus a little bit about the impact, which is something we base off of viewership. To get this trajectory, we looked at our own LinkedIn analytics, so how many views I'm currently getting on a post. And if we multiply that by 2 every year, which is our goal, as well as going to some screening events, we estimate that we could probably get up to 350,000 views per video, so this is per video, within 5 years.
And we mentioned earlier that 93.6% of people that watch a video about an article, a scientific article, then say that they can understand it. So if this many people are viewing it and 9 out of 10 people can then understand that issue and that project, then A, that increases understanding of the issue, but also it ends up trickling back into those researchers for their accessibility to funding. So these are some of our next steps that we're excited about. We are hoping to do 3 collaborations, so 3 videos pending our funding. And we are also currently working on 1 pilot film and 1 collaboration with another filmmaker researcher pair.
So along with this, we've got potential Earth Day collaborations, as well as collaborations with other organizations. And we're also going to be doing social media training and marketing development to further build our Instagram and get it posting.
As researchers, we want to show our references, but we'd rather talk about how you guys can help us out. So if you have funding opportunities, we'd love to hear about it. If you have interest in contributing to our Kickstarter, we'll be starting that on Earth Day, which is April 22nd next week. With just $500, 1 film can be funded. And also, if you have expertise or have access to someone with expertise in the environmental or documentary filmmaking fields, we'd love to hear from you.
So if you've got filmmaking skills, scientific research you want to share, or you've got scientific issues or environmental issues you want us to cover, come talk to us. We're friendly, we're nice. So we're always looking for new collaborations. And if also you've got time and interest in giving us advice, we're always trying to look to expand our board.
So if you scan this QR code here, that will give you access to our pilot film, our website, some more information about us, and then also our Instagram, which is where we'll be launching that Kickstarter next week.
Thank you, guys. We're open for questions.
Okay, we have 5 minutes now for Q&A, and I'm going to come around with the mic.
I love your idea of making like especially scientific education more accessible, because it's definitely hard to read abstracts and stuff when you're not even like, but just understand the whole thing. But I wonder who your target audience is and what, because if it's children, then what differentiates this company or organization than from someone like Bill Nye or someone who already makes content online relating to science? So not even but more of a question, like, who is your target audience?
Yeah, that's it. Oh,
I'll go first. So I would say what differentiates us is that we are intentionally trying to reach out to emerging scientists, emerging collaborations. So not a lot of people give enough credit to college researchers because they don't have the social and academic clout of a PhD to get their work published. So we're trying to, by using younger people as an example of, look, you can be 18 and 19 and do seriously meaningful work, I would say it's a better role model for those kids. And one thing to add on to that too, a lot of those publications that Bill and I or whatnot, I put them through a reading score analysis. In the average paper, you have to be in 19th grade to read. That's a really high grade number. Videos like this generally tend to be around, you can be in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and take away nearly all of it. So it's a pretty universal end goal, but what differentiates us is that we are starting with emerging researchers, emerging filmmakers, rather than trying to find somebody who's already, 20 years into their career.
I think also in terms of audience for people that are watching our videos, we would be looking to talk to the researchers or the scientists and hear from them about what they would be looking to get out of the film. So let's say that they need a little bit more funding for their project. If that's their primary goal, then maybe we are targeting more of a high level audience, and then they can share that with people that might have access to more scientific funding opportunities. But if their goal is just generally they want to talk about their project, like they have a really cool coastal restoration issue or something that they just wish more people knew about, then we would bring that level down more to like middle school, high school area, or whatever they were preferring.
So yeah, I'll add one quick little point to that really quickly. Because I've got my skill set in this is generally taking scientific abstracts and being able to decipher levels of complexity dependent on the solution they want at hand. We have a varying range of types of videos we can make, from complex, you post it on Google Scholar, PubMed, etc., or it's Bill Nye. So we cover the full range for young people.
Thank you. What's the business model? Is this, and who pays for this? Is this a subscription that me as a consumer would pay for to get access to? Or is the researcher paying for this as some type of like expense that comes out of their research budget? Help me understand what the business model is for the company.
Yeah, thank you for your question. To be totally transparent, that's an area of growth for us right now that we're trying to figure out, is what is the most sustainable business model. But where we want to start is getting funding or starting with the Kickstarter. And then we would be paying the filmmakers like an honorarium to make the film. So researchers wouldn't have to pay for the filmmaking service, and the filmmakers would get paid for their work. And then we would pay for like 1 or 2 festival submission fees, or if they wanted to host a screening event, we would help them to host the screening event. And we're considering a membership model, but right now we think that our biggest priority is making a couple of videos that people can understand a bit more about what we're doing first.
To add on to that, one of the core fundamentals of our value is that scientists, I'm one right now, we're broke. We get about $1,500 for research, and that goes quick. So We would rather do screenings and sell tickets to people watching these videos than directly take from the scientists who are contributing their research to us.
Okay, perfect. Let's give another round of applause to EnviroCom. I'm going to invite up Bobby to come getting set up. And as he's doing so, just a quick reminder, as you're filling out your feedback capture grid, feedback on the presentation itself is great, but we're especially looking for feedback on the venture. Its inputs, its outputs, its mission, how clearly it was coming across, any questions you have about that. That is especially valuable at this stage in the Changemakers' work.
No laser.
Hello, everyone. Great to be here. I'm actually starting with a pretty similar set of 3 questions, which is, are you happy with the media you consume? Do you feel like most Americans are well informed? And do you think most Americans can have productive debates or conversations on our most important issues? For the vast majority of people, their questions to these are no. If your answer is yes, I want to hang out with you more because you're probably around a very great group of people. But I like to use the analogy of fast food to describe our media, of the type of media which is most profitable, which gets the most clicks, which is the cheapest to produce, is not necessarily the best for us. Obviously, there's a lot of problems with partisanship in media, but I think the biggest overarching problem that every single media platform has is the bias toward profit and getting our attention on it, which is not always the healthiest for us, because that leads to a lot of short-form content or things that are just not very deep investigations into issues. So 2 years ago, to address this and to help out with kind of what I saw was a declining student journalism community at many colleges nationwide, I decided to start the College Contemporary, an intercollegiate student magazine. It was actually originally a newspaper, and it was literally just a piece of newsprint. I put some essays that my friends sent me from other schools, slapped it on, riddled with typos, and threw it around campus. But there were a few ideas from that stuck with me that I decided were worth continuing on with this project. It was the idea of democratizing student journalism, so giving every student access to a publication where their work would have credibility and reach. Not just like today, where it's like only the very elite schools have really prestigious student newspapers that have influence, and the vast majority of students don't have access to work for an organization like that. And also the idea of fighting for a free press. And when I say free press, I don't necessarily mean the freedom to just shitpost whatever you want on social media. As you can see, my dad has just some brilliant Facebook takes that he just likes to post on Facebook, and I have to hide them from my friends. Whether or not you agree or disagree with this particular take, it's just never really has the most thought out and rigorous examination of issues. And like whether or not you think the satire, I don't think, just particularly the content that's on the top of Twitter, X nowadays, I don't think is as the most thoughtful. So when I say free press, I'm really saying when it comes to people who are committed to deeply exploring ideas and political issues, that they will have a platform, and that they, based on their merits, their work will be spread to others and will have influence and impact. Someone who I really admire the work of is James Baldwin, and through many different magazine articles and essays, he played a huge influence on the civil rights movement. And there are many other people like that in history, and I think the format of an essay is very special because it allows a very deep exploration of ideas. So this is what our website looks like. It's had a lot of iterations throughout the years on its design. Here are a few other things we've done through the years. We've had a few print magazines. That's what one of them looks like. We made a separate website for literary work, and that's more of a space for creative students, MFA students to contribute their work. And then we also hosted a speaker series, which kind of what the last group was saying, We want to also experiment with other formats because the way we communicate is constantly changing. But by and large, we are a magazine devoted to promoting written work and the written exploration of ideas. And is that 30 seconds? Okay. Here's kind of some of the work we published on just different categories. Here's some of the progress we've made. And then to give quick reference, this is for what different organizations get monthly views. So we're still, like Hublu's at 150,000 page views per month. So we're still a lot lower than the average student newspaper. But at the same time, we've made a lot of progress in just 2 years of running a magazine. These, like something like the Atlantic and the Crimson, take decades and decades to build. And yeah, so far we've just been getting grant money from different organizations and are hoping to reach out to different schools to sponsor us. Yeah, and here's a quick schedule. Thank you.
Okay, 5 minutes for questions and answers. Ignore that bell.
Yes, Will?
I can also just announce. Thanks, Molly, for, I've been following you on this since you had the idea for the College Contemporary.
Speak into the mic.
Yes, so I think one thing that Walter Isaacson, you've taken a Walter Isaacson class before, and he's mentioned this quite a bit, is that, every person nowadays can publish, right? There's no really barriers to publishing. Can you kind of explain your value proposition versus other newspapers? Can you explain a little bit also about what your policy on moderation is and what is considered acceptable on the College Contemporary, and where does the line really drawn?
Yeah, so thank you a lot for that question. One of the things I take pride in for this is our focus on quality. And one of the reasons why I've really liked the Taylor Center, I've also worked a little bit with the LibPage Center, and they're great, but they're a lot more focused on making ventures that scale, is kind of the philosophy I've been around is focusing on profitability, focusing on scale and impact, but also, not everything has to be maximizing values for shareholders. So every single article of ours go through 3 rounds of editing, and it's a lot of wrestling back and forth between the writers and the editors. And it's actually a really beautiful process because, really complex debates are going on between our writers and editors where we learn a lot about these ideas. And I think it leads to higher quality work versus something like a newspaper model is just in a lot of digital publications have been trying to publish, because that's where they maximize ad revenue. So I'd say the difference with ours, just keep it concise, is we try to recruit the best writers we can, and we try to make sure every piece is rigorous and takes a lot of time and effort to produce. Yes?
It feels like a major audience point you could have or trying to get at is basically your swaths of people doom scrolling. I don't know if that's correct, but you're trying to maybe get young people who are just mindlessly on their phone, trying to get them to read. That's what it sounds like. Read relatable college content that's highly, I would say, intellectual content rather than just short form, just mind junk.
Yeah.
How are you going to go about trying to convince people that reading is fun in a collegiate environment? Because a lot of people, I feel like, think it's punishment, and there's a mental association with reading and bad. Not to be that guy. I don't hate all reading, but there's some people that certainly do.
So I want to to go back to the fast food analogy, is I could spend all my times railing against McDonald's and saying how McDonald's is so horrible for you. But if you're a really successful restaurant owner, you're not worried about McDonald's because you're so confident in your product, and you know that, authentic, quality, well-made food is something that people will want no matter what. So I'd say I try to relentlessly focus on the product. I have faith that's good for people. And then I'm not too worried about trying to get people to stop doom scrolling, because I think everyone knows that doom scrolling is not good for you. And if people do have access to well-made information, I think people will read it.
I think we have time for one more question. Yeah.
How are you choosing your editors? You're saying that the editors are choosing like the pieces, but how do you choose the editors?
So generally what we've done in the past is we've reached out to editors at like the different student newspapers from different schools, and then we've also reached out to a few PhD students. That's also a difficult thing. But yeah, that's been kind of mass emails trying to find the best people.
All right, thank you. And please remember, record any other final feedback. Oh yeah, there we go, round of applause. Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you.
Yeah, and as we transition, please do write down all your comments. Kind of the last big piece of work we're going to be asking students to do is to pour through your feedback for our final session next week. So please do take the time. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Ever wondered what life would be like if we didn't have all of these beautiful creatures, all the plants, animals that you see outside? Some of you may be breathing a sigh of relief, like, oh, I'll never have to see a viper, a king snake, or a tarantula. But the reality is, life without these things is pretty bleak. Our environment faces a lot of environmental issues, including deforestation, pollution, biodiversity loss, and the threat of climate change. But there's one thing that's being overlooked: language. In places like Central and South America, where this cute little sloth exists, there's a whole treasure trove of information being collected by local individuals who are working in conservation that's just never being utilized. It's not being tapped into. 36% of literature on biodiversity conservation is published in languages other than English. However, 96% of literature cited in international biodiversity reports is English. So there's a big difference between what we're publishing and what we're seeing. So this is kind of where we start our story. This idea was started when FCAT, which is a NGO located in Ecuador, heavily associated with Tulane, they requested English language training for their employees. They wanted to bolster their English knowledge to be able to work with visiting professionals, researchers, students, whatnot. So along with a local FCAT Tarot and a professor here, I created an ESL curriculum specific to these individuals to help their English skills. So again, this is where I come in. I graduated my undergrad with biology and secondary education degrees, and I also worked extensively in ESL and conservation in the Galapagos Islands. So this idea is something that's very combination of all of the things that I like, pretty much. And so when this opportunity arose for FCAT, I said, yeah, I'd love to do this. And so I worked on this all in the fall, and I ended up going to FCAT in December to implement this project there with the employees. And so this is really where EcoUnity comes in. We really focus on addressing these global language barriers, and some ways that we do this is through both ESL classes, and that can be from the most basic ESL, you've never heard English in your life, to anything used in academia. So big-time researchers who need to know English. So there's a wide range of gaps here. As well as, one thing that we really strive ourselves on is pronunciation and using native English speakers. So it can be really easy to go to Ecuador, and Ecuadorians are teaching English. They're the ones there, right? They learn English, they teach it. However, pronunciation isn't always the greatest. So one thing that we focus on is pronunciation from native speakers. And I studied abroad in Galapagos, so I wanted to incorporate kind of a study abroad into this. So meet Alex. Alex was a local Ecuadorian who worked at FCAT, and I worked with him in December. He is currently going to school in Ecuador, and he has been working on his English language skills since I've been there. And when I got there, we couldn't converse at all. But about a couple weeks ago, I actually got a video of him singing Call Me Maybe, and that was awesome because I was like, yes, English, like you're learning, so great. So yeah, and for him, English is not only expanding his professional development and helping his career, but it's also helping him help the environment. And that's one of the best things that I think about these locals and including them so much, is that they have the passion, they have the knowledge, they just need the mode. And so one thing, like I said, I wanted to incorporate a study abroad. So what we are implementing to kind of keep this ball rolling is a study abroad student teacher program with Tulane, partnered with FCAT. So what will happen is student teachers will travel to FCAT, teach 2 to 3 weeks of curriculum assigned by EcoUnity. So these employees are getting constant ESL education, and they're not missing anything, and it's very personalized. Scalability and sustainability. So how are we going to keep this going? How is this going to continue? So one thing, we really want to collaborate with conservation-focused companies. And my last slide, so I'll just kind of combine it. My call to action is kind of all of these things as well. I'm looking for collaboration with conservation companies. Anything. International, national, whatnot. We are also we have been applying for grants and have some grants, and we plan to continue to sustain on grants. But one of the main things is tuition from study abroad programs. So we want to hold study abroad programs at Tulane, but in the future we'd also like to expand to other universities. So maybe if somebody knows a university, that would be pretty cool. And we also want to focus on community engagement. So that's kind of the main thing and what sets us apart from a lot of other organizations, is that we really want to be community involved. Here, internationally, wherever that's at, we love that aspect, and we think that's how you can learn best. All right, so yeah, this is just an invitation to join us and kind of what I am looking for in terms of funding, and I kind of already talked about that a little bit, but yeah. So what questions do you have?
What are the people in Ecuador going to be using the English for? That was completely, sorry.
You're good.
Okay.
So the individuals that are working in Ecuador, they're working at a conservation station. So that happens all over the world. Typically, there's conservation stations that schools, universities will send their professors to, send their students to, but the people who are working at those facilities are local individuals. So in Ecuador, these are the individuals that are working every single day in the research. They're the ones that are maintaining the research, even when the professors here who are doing the research and then putting their names on it, they're not there. So these individuals that are in Ecuador, this knowing English, understanding English can help them publish papers in science. It can help them understand papers in science, as well as just communicate with other researchers.
Okay, so they're not going to be working as guides for like eco programs. This is for conservation research.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So there is like students that travel there on field courses, so they are kind of acting as guides, but it's not commercialized. It's for specifically conservation research.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I had a quick question right here. Hello. Hi. So I'm guessing like I'm just trying to figure out like what is your like what can you do that organization like a state department like can do with like a Fulbright scholarship where they can partner with someone in Ecuador, send a bunch of students over for a year, have them teach like English or do some research. I guess like what is your your value proposition in terms of why not incorporate this into a bigger organization?
Yeah, so there's actually a few points to this. One being that I mentioned this earlier, we're very community-based. So the idea is that we're building a community down there as well. We plan to outreach in the community in Ecuador too, to both teach English but also teach about conservation. And the idea is that when you learn about conservation, you're more equipped to help, but you're also more likely to help. And with that being said, this gives all of those individuals a very specific kind of topic to focus on and understand. But also with a lot of other ESL programs, or like you're saying, State Department, they're not personalized. They're coming in and they're dropping people just to teach English. They're not trying to make those relationships like we would be trying to make those relationships. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Have you considered having like an online database where conservation research can be accessed in like all the languages that?
Yeah, no, that's an awesome question. So eventually I'd like to have a website that there can be translation, that we can translate papers. So if they're not in English, they can be translated to English, or opposite, so that they can be read. And having kind of like a treasure box of resources of ESL, but then that also is another call to action for me. I don't have the personal skills to work with technology like that, so that's definitely something in the future that we're working on.
All right. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Emily. If you have further questions, we ask that you write them down, and Emily will get that afterwards. And also, for anyone in the back, there's still some open chairs in the front if you're looking for a spot to sit.
Hello, everyone. We are collegecounselor.co, a nonprofit focused on educational equity in Louisiana. This is our team so far. I'm Oliver. I am the CFO and vice president, and I am a computer science and marketing major.
My name is Abigail Huddleston. I'm the CEO and founder, and I'm a double major in biomedical engineering and neuroscience at Tulane.
And part of why we're here is to expand our board. So if you are interested in our presentation, please, there's going to be a QR code for you to scan, and you can scan that and give us some feedback.
So some background about why collegecounselor.co was started. I grew up outside of Chicago, Illinois, and middle of my high school career, about sophomore year, I moved across the country to Lake Charles, Louisiana. I experienced a really drastic change in the quality of education I was experiencing, the amount of support I was receiving, and it was such a difficult and interesting experience. I ended up traveling to multiple different high schools in Louisiana, trying to find somewhere that I felt supported, and I ended up at the Louisiana School for Math, Science, and the Arts in Natchitoches. Following that, I have gone to Tulane University, and I volunteered with a bunch of different education-based nonprofits, such as Robo Recovery, which William Bai, who founded that, is here today, and Upward Bound, which is another equity-based nonprofit organization that helps to support students entering higher ed. However, I saw that the focus pools for these were so small, and they were really only able to help maybe 30 to 90 students maximum, and there are so many students across Louisiana that really need the resources and support that these institutions are providing. So,
Defining the issue that we're serving. In Louisiana, we've seen a lack of student support, a lack of knowledge, and a lack of accessibility. So in Louisiana, according to the American School Counselor Association, the adequate number of students for a counselor is 250 students. In Louisiana, the average counselor to student ratio is 515 students to one counselor. So already we're seeing that counselors don't have the resources and support to help the students as well.
Additionally, 1 in 5 students in Louisiana do not have a college counselor at all, and it's really, really difficult even for counselors that feel like they're well prepared to adequately help all of these students with the set amount of time that they have in the school day.
So that brings us to our product, collegecounselor.co. So we have a website that presents students with accessible college-specific resources and accurate and approachable college application information. And we also offer some services like free college essay revision, one-on-one counseling with a counselor, and a blog space for them to share some of their experiences. This is an overview of our website. We have 5 different pages. One is what to do, so it outlines what a high school student should do each year throughout their career. A services page, a blog page, an ACT resource page, a financial aid resource page, and then some college info.
The way that our website is different from other services that might be available is that all of our information is Louisiana specific, so there are a lot of broad, sweeping college support resources, but because of the educational environment in Louisiana, it's so specific with TOPS and all of the different institutional aid. It's really important for students to be able to get the resources that they need in an accessible way. Additionally, we want to focus on students that are not necessarily set on going to college. I feel that students who have the family support and the school support to attend college are going to, but there are a lot of students that want to but just don't have the means. I came across that a lot when I was volunteering with Upward Bound, and that's really why we wanted to start this.
And really quick, this is just some of our statistics for our website.
Our social media is completely run by us. We interact with a lot of students regularly on it. Our reach is about 17,000 students right now, and our main age ranges are 18 to 24, and our main cities are New Orleans and Lake Charles. One of our most popular resources is that we do a Let's Talk About series where we talk about different colleges and two-year community colleges in Louisiana, as well as trade schools, and we let students ask questions, we talk it out with them. Additionally, I wanted to mention that our essay revision service is done by college student volunteers, so not only are we offering volunteer hours to college students and leadership positions for them, but we're giving them a chance to give back to their community and also offer peer revision to these high school students from English majors at Tulane.
Really quick, just some future plans for us. We're adding more comprehensive college pages to our website, and we are hoping to build a board, so we're looking to you guys for that potentially. And then our path for the project over the next couple of years, we hope to finish building our website by the end of the year. We also hope during that time to be gaining some funding from different organizations. And then we hope to have an in-person event by the end of the year where we can bring students, counselors, professionals in each field together to help with these students' journeys. And then by the end of next year, we hope to expand to all of Louisiana. Here are some of our QR codes. Please scan them, and we're ready for some questions from you guys.
Yeah, the Instagram is on the left and then interest form on the right. Or right and left.
Have y'all started partnering with any local YP organizations, like young professional
I have been
organizations?
recommended to partner with them. So right now, I have been in contact with a lot of college admissions agents and Louisiana high school counselors, and that has been the extent of our partnering so far. Additionally, we have partnered with the Changemaker Institute at Tulane as we are focused on minority access and increasing equity in higher education, but I think that would be a great resource to get in contact with.
Okay, perfect.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah, if you have suggestions for organizations, please write them down. Other question? Yeah.
Less of a question, more of a recommendation. You should probably consider retired guidance counselors and folks who have a ton of capacity, who are still interested in helping. I know that my mom is a guidance counselor here in Orleans Parish Public Schools for 30 years, and her and our guidance counselor friends still get together. There's still, I think there's a lot of opportunity, untapped potential there, and such that you're not having to reinvent the wheel. You might be able to find folks with skills that are either willing to volunteer or in a cost-efficient way help out. So.
Awesome,
Yeah,
thank you.
I think that's a wonderful idea. I really, really appreciate and want to emphasize that college counselors in Louisiana do so much for us, and their skills are so valuable. We just want to bring those skills to the state level and have a place where students can go and have everything and not feel so confused and lost.
Like you're addressing an audience where like these are college seniors, college juniors thinking about applying to college, and I guess like from what I've seen and just like working with you or just like looking at what you guys done, it's really mainly through like online outreach. And I'm just wondering your thoughts on going actually to schools, going to say like Washington Parish or Terrebonne Parish or whatever, and talking to the students over there. Like, is there a possibility that you think that would be more effective in terms of, because everyone can post on social media right now. You're like everyone's saturated with that digital information. Like, how can you kind of stand out in that saturated area?
Yeah, so we are looking mainly right now to do focus group type things with Louisiana high school students, making sure that our website is
like was mentioned previously, not doing nothing. We want to be filling a need, and so we're constantly looking to iterate our website and fill those needs. And then additionally, our in-person event is hoping to bring everything together in a way that makes it more real world outside of just our digital aspect. We get a lot of interaction with our digital platform because it is in your face and easy to use. But I think that doing an event in person where we can connect admissions agents, college counselors, and additionally, like Oliver said, professionals who are already established in their field to give students an idea of potential careers, reasons to go to college, I think that would be amazing. And I would really love to do that in the next year whenever we get the funding.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add one thing. We are planning on going to local schools and, you know, tabling and just making sure that the students know we're there, because it's kind of hard to find us just by looking at the internet. Sometimes it might not pop up. The algorithm for TikTok might be not giving us to the students. So, you know, we're going out there and we're also putting our foot forward to say, you know, we want to help you and we're here.
Yeah, and the end goal is that we are a resource for students who don't have counselors, but also a resource for counselors to recommend to their students and say, here, I'm going to give you all of these supplemental resources, but if you ever have a question, you can go here, because we want to be that place.
All right, thank you, Abby and Oliver.
I just wanted to add one more thing. If you guys aren't interested in joining the board, if you know a student as well, feel free to point us or point them towards our resources as well. Thank you.
Hello. Hello. Okay. So how much water have you drank today? And maybe you don't know. Most of us actually overestimate the amount of water that we drink. And studies have shown that when we actually sit down and track how much water we drink, the average American only drinks about 4 cups a day of water, when the actual recommended amount is 8 cups of water. And this is something that we're aiming to fix at Caracas Canteen, so that you can be happily tracking your daily water consumption, getting live updates of how far along you are of your daily goal of water intake. So for example, here I was at 53% of my personalized water intake. That is based on my weight, my sex, and then also how active I am. And I'm going to talk more about the features of the water bottle later, but first I want to talk a little bit about why is it so important to drink water. So higher water intake is associated with a better diet quality and also just better health overall. There's been a push in the clinical research community to start talking about hydration, not only to improve athletic performance, but then also to improve just health overall. In fact, 2 months ago, Nature, which is one of the most high impactful journals in the health community, published a research article on the long-term health outcomes associated with hydration status. At Caracas Canteen, we don't only have a thirst for water, we also have a thirst for equity, because unfortunately there are disparities that exist in terms of what communities are most impacted by dehydration, which are Black and Hispanic individuals, women and girls, and also people with up to high school education. And it's not only about how much water you're drinking, it's also where this water comes from. So communities of color mostly get their water source from bottled water instead of tap water, which is a problem because bottled water is associated with higher exposure to microplastics and then also higher bacterial growth. So how can we fix this? The solution is obviously to increase the consumption of safe water in our communities. And we want to do this through the introduction of a smart water bottle that tracks your water intake. So this is one of the water bottles in our current product line, and we are working to have a new product line through the feedback that we've received. So this water bottle has a phone app that tracks your water intake. It has the ability to set alarm reminders every hour, 1.5, or every 2 hours. It has temperature control and display, and the light will actually turn red if it's too hot, so you don't burn yourself, as I know I have a couple times with hot tea. All in an LCD touchscreen, and then also it is an insulated water bottle, so it'll keep your water cold for up to 24 hours and hot for up to 12 hours, and it is a rechargeable water bottle. We have 2 other water bottles in our current product line as well that have all these features except for the phone app that tracks your water intake. So the reusable water bottle market is expansive and growing. In 2023, it was a market size of $9.3 billion. And the annual compound growth rate is of 4.4% from 2024 to 2030. Now, of course, we're not the only company that has smart water bottles. We would definitely compare in terms of price and then also inclusivity. Not only because it's the right thing to do, but also because our competitors have let the market of Black and Hispanic individuals untapped, and that is where we can come in. So this is kind of like where we align in terms of price compared to our competitors. And also, we very intentionally are prototyping our new line of water bottles to make sure that the features that we include are features that our communities want to begin with. And we're using design thinking, thanks to the Changemaker Institute, to do so. So what are our next steps and how can you join us? So our next steps are to apply to these grants, big grants, to be able to fund the design and development of our new product line of water bottles. So if you know any connections or resources to funding, make sure to email us at storeandsantos@gmail.com. You can follow us, and then of course you can always support us by buying one of our water bottles, and here's a QR to our site. You can also Google us as, and we should be one of the first ones to pop up. Thank you.
Questions? Are your water bottles dishwasher safe?
So the cap, like which is a smart piece of the water bottle, isn't dishwasher fit safe. I've had it in the dishwasher by accident. It still works, but it's not recommended. But the actual insulated part, which is the part that would, you know, accumulate bacteria, is dishwasher safe.
Okay, and wait, I'm sort of unclear. Does it filter water as well? Or
No,
is it just a water bottle?
It's just a water bottle, so it doesn't filter water. But we're in the new product line, we want to add kind of like a UV light that will actually, help with, you know, any bacterial concerns that you may have. But then also studies have shown, and this is very interesting, that bottled water has more bacterial growth than tap water. So just something to consider as well.
I have a quick question related to one of your arguments for the bottle was the fact that plastic bottles have microplastics.
Yes.
So you really didn't present an argument to mitigate that issue with the bottle that you're providing. But at the same time, you know, if I use a water filter for my tap, is it removing other, you know, elements or particles that you would be concerned with, and is that a safer route to go?
So our idea is that because you're using reusable water bottles, you'll be more inclined to use tap water and not bottled water. I think that we need to certainly do research and see what we can do for people that are just going to get a bottled water and put it in the smart water bottle. So thank you for bringing that up, because that is a concern, especially because a lot of times in our communities, people drink bottled water because maybe that might be the only option. And so obviously, you know, it is a two-step, you know, we don't think that just by this, people are just going to magically drink more tap water. We have to also work in tandem with organizations that are, you know, pushing forward policies that make sure that people have access to safer water so that they feel comfortable enough to drink tap water instead of bottled water. I know that, you know, you might be, you know, concerned about other metals, for example, like lead, et cetera. And again, that's like part of something that we need to push forward as well, make sure that tap water is safe to consume.
What about the type of liquid too? Like if I'm drinking a coffee, do you consider that equivalent to water? And if not, then what ratio would you consider it?
Well, I'm not an expert. It's not equivalent to water, but it is majority water. But we really want to push, though, just drinking plain water, though, because when you drink more plain water, that counteracts like how much soda you're drinking, et cetera. So in terms of like hydration, yes, it helps your hydration, but it doesn't have the same health benefits of just drinking plain water. And that's what we want to push forward.
Just given the points that were mentioned and how you were talking about maybe an inaccessibility to tap water, have you considered coming out with a smart filter of some kind, or a product that you could pair with this product? So maybe like a bundle, like you get the water bottle and a filter, so that people are using the water bottle and having a filter for their water?
Yeah, so when we were doing the prototyping, this was a big concern that came up. And so right now, the only thing that we decided that we're going to include in the new features of the new product line is that UV light. But I think that, yeah, having a bundle of like a different filter is a great idea as well. And there's also a lot of like, not the debate into like which filters are best. And so I think that's also something that we can push forward as we are health researchers. Oh, I didn't talk, my partner is Dr. Kamaya Stewart. She does equity research as well. And so that's also something that we can bring as a strong suit. It's like, you know, you have the water bottle. We can also have this filter, which is evidence-based, the healthiest and best one to use.
Any more questions? All right, thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you guys for coming. My name is Mateo Puraño. My venture is Global Progress Ventures. I'll start off with a question. How often are you heartbroken when you're traveling in the global south? I know as a Latino American growing up traveling between South America and the United States, scenes like this were too often, and heartbreaking. As a child, I would think to myself, why is this kid cleaning my windshield when I'm playing soccer? This disparity has driven me since I was a child and has fed my curiosity and led me to where I am today. Right now, I'm studying international development as well as finance and entrepreneurship through the Altman program in International Studies and Business, through which I'm studying over 3 semesters abroad. Here in the pictures you can see from my summer project in Yucatan, Mexico. I stayed with a Mayan village in Yaxuna for over a week, where I helped build a garden as well as discuss ways to bring ecotourism to the village. Outside of the classroom, you may ask, how are you qualified for this? I grew up the son of an entrepreneur who was the son of an entrepreneur. I saw what the right resources at the right time meant for my dad's business as well as his family's business. I also saw what happened when my dad was overlooked and the resources were not tailored to his needs, and he was forced to close his company after over 25 years of operating. This led me to, with my project Global Progress Ventures, which is aimed to help democratize entrepreneurship in the global south and those implications on development. With that, I siloed my work this semester with the New Orleans ecosystem as well as the global ecosystem. Within New Orleans, I leveraged my network I had being a venture scout last semester, spoke with a lot of founders as well as entrepreneurial support organizations, and found that the biggest problem here is that we're not exploiting our competitive advantage in industries such as the gas and oil and hospitality, and we're focused on trying to implement frameworks from accelerators such as YC Combinator and attract high-tech, high-growth businesses rather than foster our competitive advantage. On the global scope of things, I was able to speak with CEOs, venture capitalists, as well as government officials in countries spanning from Ecuador, Argentina, and Mexico. And the biggest thing I heard from them was that consumers need to be more aware of the entrepreneurial process so that they can support early stage companies, as well as on the investor side, be more risk averse, be more open to risk, since investors in the global south are very conservative even in the venture capital space. One metric we can look at is total early stage entrepreneur activity, or TEA. You can see that countries across South America surpass the TEA rates of Canada and the so-called innovation hub of the United States. But if given a sliver of the resources their American counterparts receive, these entrepreneurs throughout Latin America can really present innovative solutions to problems spanning from development all the way to business software. What now? I will be studying my next academic year abroad with a semester in Sao Paulo starting this July, where I'm studying through a socially sustainable business in Brazil program, where I hope to receive on-the-ground experience in socially sustainable business and really learn what makes them successful. I will also be conducting research through the LePage Center of Entrepreneurship at Tulane, where I hope to model case studies around venture capital firms such as Vox, where you can see their investment thesis really prioritizes sustainable criteria that returns both financial and social returns to all stakeholders. I hope that with the help of other students, knowing that this is a daunting task, I've enlisted the help of other Altman scholars, which will be helping me with my research next year. I have a friend who's going to be studying more of the theory behind economic development in Paris, and then I will be kind of studying the on-the-ground application of those theories in Brazil. And we hope to use that academic research as market research for the business we hope to build. We will be building as part of our capstone project senior year in the Entrepreneurship Center. So with that, please scan the QR code. Let me know if you know anyone who's working in emerging markets or have any insights that could be helpful. Thank you.
Questions for Matteo?
Thanks so much for your presentation. I guess I'm not a business major. I don't study all this, but I imagine, one reason that I come from Silicon Valley, and there's tons and tons of VC money just everywhere, and that's because there's a consistent track record, right? The Googles, the Yahoos, whatever, have come out of the Valley, and people are more willing to, I guess, put in money, right, because of that. So there's this flywheel effect. More businesses come out successful, more money gets in. So I guess there's a lot of I don't necessarily trust issues, but sort of there isn't a reputation of big business coming out of the global South. I guess how do you address that first, right?
So as a student who is interested in venture capital, the motto usually is one out of 100 investments is going to hit big. So that's the motto they use, and in VC in Silicon Valley, they kind of throw money at the wall until it sticks. So in Latin America, in these developing markets, there are actually unicorns that come out. And if you look at the statistics between the amount of money invested in these markets and the amount of so-called unicorns that come out, it's actually better than in a lot of developed markets. The biggest thing is it's geopolitical risks that investors fear. They fear the lack of judicial recourse. So if the company goes, they don't feel that they can trust the judges. They also fear political instability, investing heavily in markets where one day the president's the leader and the next there's a military coup. So these are the things that I'm hearing from venture capitalists as to why they're not investing, not necessarily lack of track record, just other factors hindering their investment.
I just want to make a comment. One of the things that you mentioned was that, why don't we focus more on oil and gas? And you made the argument that we're spending time in tech. I guess, I'm from California too, and I'm a data scientist, so I'm in tech as well. But one of the things that I think you should keep in mind too is that when it comes to Louisiana and the South, one of the biggest concerns is diversified investment or diversified economy. Oil and gas is great, but if it's the only show in town, when the economy goes south, then you're really impacted by that. And so having a diversified economy is really good. And I think that technology feeds into that, of what your argument is. So going south, I could see that there's some diversified investments available as well. So that's a great thing too. Tech is one of those things that people look at as well, as far as looking at, okay, I've got, say, a tech project. Are there resources down south or technology that I can invest in down there that can help me out competitively as a resource? I mean, there's different ways to look at that as well, right?
Yeah.
So
I definitely meant when looking at that, I meant kind of trying to focus on industries where we can take expertise from the oil and gas industry and apply, of course, technology to find kind of new innovative products, but not necessarily kind of try to force onto the city, for example, bio-innovation or those types of industries that people feel may succeed in the city rather than using kind of the talent that already existed. So.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you are someone who menstruates, I'd like you to think about the first time you had your period. Where were you? How did it feel like? This is a question that my partner Olivia and I have been exploring during our time in the Changemaker Institute. We've been asking our friends and our family and our mentors, and these are some of the responses that we've gotten. People have been overwhelmed, they've been scared, they've been excited to be grown up, they've been away from home. There's been so many mixed emotions about your first period and periods thereafter. So what would you want to do to make sure the young menstruators today could feel a sense of preparedness and education for their first period? Menstruation education is extremely lacking throughout the United States. Among the 50 states, only 85% of these states have sex ed explicitly written into their health curriculum. And out of all of the 50 states, only 3 states have menstruation explicitly written. And depending on when you went to school and did your 5th grade health education, or the one that you have to do in middle school, or the one you have to do in high school, that could have looked very different for you. So for some people, it might have been these traditional textbooks that focus on the anatomy and the physiology of health and reproductive health. For students today, a lot of it is going into TikTok and typing in, what do I do when I get my first period? And there are a lot of videos and resources that exist, but there is a lack of a hands-on component for young menstruators to be using in their everyday lives. And also, with the rise of social media, I think a big concern is the accuracy of the information and also the relatability, because that's such an individualized topic and concern. So a lot of organizations have already come up with some solutions to try and address this problem in the lack of menstruation education. One of them is called amaze.org, and they have a video collection on YouTube that a lot of teachers will show in their classrooms that talk about periods or talk about all of these ideas with this character who talks about her problems. And this is a really great way to share the educational material in a concise way. There's also a big concern about something called the period poverty, which is just that some menstruators, some girls who might have limited access to education or to products based off of the environment that they grow up in. And so organizations like Period, the menstrual movement, have become advocacy organizations to try and further the education. And while both of these types of projects and many others are addressing this problem, we've still identified that there is a lack of practical education for people to be using in their day-to-day lives. So our mission at Period Prepared is to provide inclusive and accessible educational programming to empower young menstruators with the practical skills and knowledge that they would need for period preparedness. So the main service that we've offered and that we've been working on during our time here is to develop different workshops. And so these workshops are focused on being practical and hands-on, done in smaller groups with demonstrations of products and how you should be dealing with your period every month and how to make the most of that time. These workshops are free and easily accessible, and we've also tried to make them adaptable to both the classroom and to the home. And our goal in Period Prepared is to work with schools to physically go in and teach these workshops. We also hope to work with parents so that they can do these workshops at home on their kitchen counters with their children. And finally, to work directly with educators and hopefully with the Department of Health to develop this into the curriculum formally in New Orleans. So these are some of the topics that we've included in our workshops. So topics like hygiene, cycle tracking, what to do for your first period, what to pack in a little period pouch, and how to choose your period products. And if you are someone who menstruates, this is something that you think about every month, but you probably can't even remember how you learned it or when you learned how to do it, but it's something that's very important in your everyday lives. And so we want to be able to streamline this to be taught formally in a school setting or in a home setting so that people feel prepared for their first period. So our future plans at Period Prepared include exploring more collaborators. So one of the ones that we've identified is through the New Orleans Adolescent Reproductive Health Project, which is a program that already goes into a lot of the schools in New Orleans to teach health education, because that's not something that's mandatory in New Orleans. And we hope to incorporate a lot of our workshops into the existing curriculum that they already have to just bring that hands-on component to what they're already doing. We've also received a lot of feedback about where and how we can fit into these schools. So maybe it's coming in during their health class, maybe it's being after school or coming in the evenings with children and their parents together, or going to Girl Scout clubs or running clubs in order to share this information. Another big piece of feedback that we've received is there's kind of 2 different age groups that we're working with, maybe a younger demographic that hasn't gotten their period yet and a preparedness. And those workshops need to be exciting and positive about periods. But maybe for older menstruators that have already started getting their periods, it's more practical skills like what product specifically do I need that they can actually listen to and think about now that they've already gotten their periods. And so we're trying to separate that into 2 demographics and provide workshops that are more age specific for both. And we also are hoping to launch an online platforms where we can share all of our workshops so that students can refer back to it or parents can utilize it at home. And yes, of course, we'd always like to engage parents and their ideas and hope that their input can really shape our venture. So how can you support us? There's 2 questionnaires that we have. The first one is just for anyone who would like to share what they know about periods. It's like a little period quiz because we're using the knowledge gaps that people in our community have to drive the type of workshops that we create. We'd also really like input from you if you are a parent who would like to see this being taught at the school that your child is at and what kind of workshops you would like. And then finally, if you could just write down any ideas that come to mind about workshops that you would have liked to see or you would have liked your children to see, that would be great. Olivia and I are 2 medical students who are also masters in public health, and we are really excited about this because we're girls. Like, we went through the young menstruator and all the confusion that we faced, and we really want to change this for the future generation of young menstruators. Thank you.
There you go. I was going to ask for you to go back to that screen.
Yeah.
I'm a mom of 3 boys, ages 8, 10, and 12, who are, I'm hoping would be supportive. And I've heard all from their moms, girl moms, how to talk to their girls about it. I have no idea how to talk to my boys about about this. So that's what I would want.
That's great. Thank you so much. Actually, we recently went into a classroom to teach, and we were really surprised at the engagement of the 5th grade boys. One really sweet boy raised his hand and was like, we need to learn this because we're going to have girlfriends and wives and sisters. And we were like, someone raise this boy right. So I just feel like it's been really great how it's been received, and I really appreciate your feedback. So thank you.
Other questions?
So I wonder if you'll expand beyond just the period and maybe like some dysfunctional conditions that first arise during like when people start menstruating, like endometriosis and some of those things.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that we were considering for the older age group, and we originally had maybe thought about it for the 8 to 12 group, but we received a lot of feedback from pediatricians and teachers that needs to be a really positive talk, like, yay, you're getting your first period, it's so exciting, nothing bad's gonna happen, just really positive. But I think for maybe the older demographic, just talking about those topics is really important. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Other questions or feedback?
Have you considered a section on empowerment? I know that there are a lot of organizations or moms that are looking to celebrate, this milestone in a young girl's life. So is that something you've considered to do?
Yeah, I think we've definitely considered integrating like a cultural component to it, because I know that different cultures treat menstruation very differently, womanhood, growing up. And so that is definitely something that we're considering. And if you would like to be a resource to talk about that, I'd love to connect with you. Or if you know anyone. She's like, oh no. Thanks.
Do you primarily see this as a New Orleans thing, or do you hope to expand to the rest of the state or the country?
So that's a good question. I think that we didn't originally think that it was going to be just New Orleans, but the New Orleans school system is very interesting because there's a lot of charter schools. And so I think actually that's really been a big benefit in getting our foot in the door to a lot of places, because each place kind of has their own rules, and if they're cool with it, then we're cool with it. And a lot of places have big districts that you have to go through. But I think by doing a kind of platform where we can aggregate our workshops, maybe we can have different chapters at other schools, since that organization earlier, NOARP, they're from Tulane and LSU, they're med students that go in to teach. So I think that there would be volunteers in other cities who would be interested in going to their elementary schools. So yeah, that's definitely something we've thought about.
Any final questions? Yes, Sherry.
Not so much a question, just, I don't know, I think it would be interesting to have a slightly older peer component, maybe educate high school students to talk to the younger menstruators.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we thought about. I think clubs or some kind of programming in the summer, going to summer camps is really exciting. Yeah, thank you.
All right, well, round of applause. Thank you, thank you. And before we adjourn and let y'all just mingle and continue to meet these amazing fellows, we did just want to recognize them, that this program, so students are not paid for this, they don't get credit for this, they're taking 2 hours and then a lot more time on their own every week to participate in this program. So we just would like to honor y'all with a big round of applause and congratulations. And then if the fellows could just come up one by one, we have some certificates for y'all. So Katie Peralt. I'm sorry, I have to be calling you guys your first name the whole, so I apologize in advance if I'm saying it. But congratulations. Woo woo. And Catherine. And if y'all could actually stay up here and we'll take a photo right afterwards. So you guys can come right in front of here. Congratulations. We have Bobby Becker. Congratulations. Great work. Next is Abby. And Oliver. Maria, where is she? There she is. Congratulations. Mateo. Woo. And Hannah. And just so, Hannah, yep, congratulations. Woo, woo. And we do also have some for Olivia and Dr. Kamaya, too, so we'll get those to them. Oh, Emily. Oh, I'm sorry, where is hers? What? And Emily. Oh, my goodness. Congratulations. Come on up. And, yeah, we're just going to get it on with Travis as well. Do you need to cluster a little closer together? Congratulations. Woo-woo. All right. Well, thank you all again so much for being here. We ask that you leave your feedback capture grids on this table before you go, and then we'll sort them and make sure they get to all of the fellows. And please help yourself take home extra food and drink, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.